Hey guys, peace. Welcome to another Chit Chat. Hope you guys are well. And there are a few things I want to talk about today or tonight. I decided I kind of want to do a couple of videos, if I can, tonight, as opposed to doing one long video. And when I say long, I mean, lighting's a little messed up. When I say long, I mean an hour and a half. So instead of doing a really long video, I'm going to try to do maybe two or three videos on different topics, because there's a couple of things. So instead of doing a mishmash of topics, I'm going to try to talk about, I think there's 3 different topics, right? So the last video I did, I think I said that I was going to come back and talk about what is the spiritual realm made up of, basically. And I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'll come back and talk about that. I want to talk about some other things, a couple of other topics. One is, since we are in Virgo season, some astrology stuff sort of popped up. As well as there was this, I call it YouTube Russian roulette, not Russian roulette, what is it? Something like that. The algorithm that just pops up, the synchronistic algorithm, and you come into some information that either you had on your mind or you were talking about earlier that week or whatever. And so one of them is on the solar flares. I didn't know that there were solar flares, but I found out today that we've been having a really high solar flare activity as of the last couple of days, which totally makes sense, right? It's where all of this amazing energy is coming from. Also, some of the planetary, I think there's Moon in Aquarius coming up. Of course, we have Mercury retrograde on its way. And, however, we're in Virgo sun. So I think it's important to talk a little bit about Virgo. Okay. Not deep astrology, because I don't really do that. But I don't know, I just kind of felt led to kind of do a little bit of Virgo talk today. And then the other topic that I don't know if I'll talk about in this video, maybe I'll do, like I said, another video, a couple other videos tonight, is actually based on the song that you're hearing. And this is Joni Mitchell. So she's one of my, very favorite singers since I was a kid. And this particular song is, I consider it a masterpiece. It's called The Sire of Sorrow. And it's based on the story of Job in the Bible. And it's amazing. And the reason I want to talk about it or, share it with you guys is because sort of this thing came up for me, and I wrote about it. And I said I was going to read my internal metaverse essay, which I still will. Nice thing about YouTube is you can just do video after video, right? But this thing of about suffering, I guess. I know I mentioned the other day how a lot of people have, been under attack for a while now because there are these factions of shadow aligned people who think it's really cool to be shadow aligned and to do spells and what do they call it, gang stalking and covens. And I talked a little bit about all that stuff the other day with regard to how I feel about it, how I'm not really into the whole witchcraft thing, But so not just from that perspective, but also from a Buddhist perspective, because I think I told you guys, Buddhism has been one of my, one of my go-tos for a very long time. And one of the very big helpful things that people relate to Buddhism has to do with alleviating suffering. So the Buddhists talk a lot about where suffering comes from, an attachment to desires, which is something I've been talking about, for many years, again, with regard to the ego. So let's see, I'm going to try to attempt to play this again. And so, dealing with, or looking at, suffering. Then you have the concept of karma from a Hindu perspective. Cause and effect, you reap what you sow from Abrahamic perspective. And I know there's a lot of people who don't believe in karma, or they believe in karma as cause and effect, but they don't really like to talk about it. I don't know what's going on here. Is it coming on again? Okay. So yeah, this is a very, very cool, artistic, poetic way to, I think, look at suffering by deconstructing the lyrics to Joni's song. And so I'll try to share the lyrics with you as we go over this discussion of suffering. And not so much trying to offer solutions. I think it's something that each person, should deal with themselves and analyze, especially in Virgo season, which is another, what we're talking about first. Because Virgo is a season and sign of, self-analysis and shadow work, really. Balancing, alchemy. So, let's get into it. Oh, what nice graphics. I guess first I'll say it has still been, we're having this heat wave, and it's so interesting to me because, again, it connects with the purification aspect of Virgo season that I want to talk about. But man, I've been taking like 3 to 4 showers a day because it's just so hot. And I can feel the impurities coming out. So I've been drinking like a lot of citrus, like a lot of lemon and lime water. And I had some oranges. I forgot to go to the farmer's market today, but I have some oranges that I bought last Sunday. and just flushing out. The sun, as you know, we've talked about before, has been the type of sun that appears to offer a lot of codes, right? So yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this whole Virgo thing. Let's see. I don't know why these glasses are kind of, I don't know if my eyes are getting worse. Okay, so Virgo, right? One thing I noticed that I resent having Virgo prominently in my chart is that a lot of people tend to like really sleep on Virgos and sort of, you know, give them a lot of grief and a lot of, so hot, a lot of grief, and you know, there's just a lot of underappreciation and stated and misunderstanding, you know, with regard to Virgo. And low key, Virgo is like one of the like most important deep signs in astrology. It really is. When you juxtapose it with its opposite of Pisces, you really get into a very complete source or God, not, you know, big God, but, you know, God-esque energy. And I'll talk about that later. But when you're dealing with Virgo, of course, you're dealing with, you know, themes of perfectionism. And anybody who knows a Virgo knows that that is, you know, something that they're always, you know, striving for in some form or another, whether it's, you know, high level or low level. But a lot of people tend to call Virgos earth angels because of the characteristics they carry with, you know, really wanting to help people and to be about, you know, where you have Aquarius, who's kind of humanitarian. Virgos also are humanistic and humanitarian as well. But, you know, they really are, again, kind of like the Pisces traits. There's almost even a self-sacrificial element, which is, again, another reason why a lot of people really diss Virgo. They really tend to just sort of see Virgos as people who are pushovers, basically. Yeah. And when I speak of Virgo, I'm speaking of the Virgo template energy, which is not just in the the sun sign, but in all of, you know, all of the placements. So you can have Virgo as a rising, or Virgo as a Venus, or Virgo as whatever. You know, most of us have some Virgo somewhere in our chart. But, you know, there's a lot of complexity to the Virgo template that a lot of people don't get. They tend to see Virgo a lot as, you know, criticizers, which is true. I mean, you know, we can talk about I'm not really going to break down a whole, you know, you can go watch a regular video on Virgo to get like or read something to get all the basics on the Virgo character and template. But, you know, one thing that I notice is that Virgos will definitely pull the mask off, because the whole thing with Virgos is, you know, seeking truth. Really, they're out for and trying to get to a truth of things, and in doing so, they can sometimes, in a very clumsy sense, you know, pull people's masks off. And a lot of people do not, you know, take that very well, which is another reason why Virgos get a bad rap, right? They're also, you know, they can get very withdrawn for a number of reasons. It's not that Virgos aren't social, they just don't like to put up with a lot of BS. Again, their primary, you know, inclination is to get to truth, you know, and to purify things that don't reveal that truth. And again, that can get in the way of living a normal kind of life. So they like, you know, so they tend to be, you know, they're called hermits. They tend to be very withdrawn at times when they're feeling misunderstood, or if they're just trying to, you know, understand something. They're also known as healers, right? But they're very complex because it's not just like one side of traits. It's both. And that's another telling issue with regard to Virgo, that, again, like I said, it's like an alchemist. They're on both sides trying to integrate the polarities. That's kind of really one of the big, you know, missions, if you will. There's an interesting dynamic. If you know about astrology, you know that Gemini and Virgo share the same planet, which is Mercury. But that's not the original planet that Virgo originally was assigned. So mythologically, Virgo was originally assigned Vulcan. And the mythology goes that, you know, Vulcan was destroyed, I want to say by Marduk. I can't remember. And when it was destroyed, it got Mercury and shared Mercury. But that's not unusual because let's see, Libra and Taurus share Venus, and Aries and Scorpio share Mars. So it's not, you know, uncommon. So when you share a planet with another sign, it's sort of like your sibling sign, right? But I find it interesting that you have, the mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. And I've always seen and felt a connection. I can talk about that another time. But also numerologically, you have Pisces 3, third month, or third sign, or third month, not third sign. And then you have Gemini 6, Virgo 9, Sag 12. So you have 3, 6, 9, 12 numerologically. And those are, you know, they relate very deeply. So yeah, this thing of Virgo holding people accountable for their true selves by pulling masks off through, you know, criticism or analysis, and sharing that analysis in order to help. Even though, you know, like I said, they withdraw a lot because it's not always experienced or seen as help by other people, you know, and so they don't, you know, who likes to be criticized, including Virgo. However, I mentioned the fact that Virgos come off as pushovers. You know, people, again, they just really don't respect Virgo, in my opinion. You know, if you like, it's kind of like one of those things where those who like Virgo, but those who don't, you know, don't. It's hard to see them, especially if you're more material-minded or earth-minded, because you'll miss their subtle qualities that are very spiritual. Again, they're called earth angels. They're considered the angels of the astrology. However, so the shadow side is that they're also considered very witchy, And if you ever get on the bad side of a Virgo, good luck. Because Virgos are known naturally for as the magicians, which include, witches. And so their manifestation game, they're connected to, they're an earth sign. So, the earth, the trees, the forest, the birds, the elements all support Virgo. And the nature of Virgo in their deep analytical nature to understand things. And it also, so when I mentioned Gemini, so Virgo also governs the intellect. And so Gemini and Virgo share that. Virgos are deeply intellectual. And they get along well with Aquarians as well. I'm going to talk about Aquarians soon because I want to do a whole thing on Aquarians at another time. But, Virgos rule magic. And, Capricorns, all the earth signs really. Capricorn's style of magic is more like a wizardry. And then you have like Scorpio, which is like sorcery. But Virgo has more of a magical sense, a fairy magical sense. And anybody who knows about the Fae Kingdom knows that there's shadow, aspects to that as well. So magic can be high magic or low magic, right? And Virgos deal with both of that in certain aspects of Virgo. So it tends to, their magic, the magic of Virgo tends to be more pure and, I'm not saying all Virgos do, but that's kind of how their magic expresses. However, it can also be imbalanced, as anything. Okay, I'm gonna give this song a break, so hang on for just 1 second. Oh gosh, I was trying to play some more Joni Mitchell, but I'm not so sure that I'm gonna be able to find it. So okay, let me try to keep going. So another thing about Virgo is that it's a very transformational type energy. And what do I mean by that? I mean, oh my goodness, I have that whole... Hang on for just a second, guys. Hang on. Okay, I think I've got it. Oh, wait. We want the full album. This is one of my very favorite albums. Play the whole album. Okay. All right, so sorry about that. So it's a very transformational sign. And it's sort of, 9 being the last number before you cross over to 10. And then when you get to Libra, astrologically, you're dealing with sort of perfection in its, you could say Libra, Libras are very balanced. So it's like each sign is sort of takes on the, the mastery of the sign before it. Like it embodies what the sign before it worked on. Or what mastered, So, but the transformation of Virgo is not just about like winning. It's about redoing the whole template. It's about bringing new knowledge in the form of wisdom, and like restructuring the whole body of rules, which is again, this is where it kind of relates a bit to, it gets along, well with maybe Aries, about pioneering like whole new templates, transforming the butterfly, transforming, because that's what you do with wisdom, right? And knowledge. You take it and you upgrade, you evolve, you create something new. And that's what Virgo's about. And I don't think a lot of people understand that either. That's a part of why Virgos don't really, in its highest form, it doesn't really work for itself. It works for the whole. So yeah, and again, Virgo does rule the intellect, but it rules transcending the intellect as well. It's associated with, just like it's associated with magic, it's associated with the mystic as well. So going beyond just the intellectual knowledge and mastery of, the material realm based on knowledge, but also transforming again into the mystic realms, the spiritual realms, based on wisdom, based on combining the the knowledge and wisdom and using it to shift yourself into a more perfect version of you, right? Virgos tend to have a non-competitive sort of, not a cutthroat type of energy. However, it does like to quote unquote win, just not in the ways that other signs relate to, to this concept of winning or success. But they do gravitate toward manifesting wins, as they are earth signs. So they're all about stability. The tarot, they're in the tarot suit of the pentacle. So, having security is a part of it. But again, not in its highest aspect, not so much even as other signs such as Capricorn and even Taurus. Is kind of different, I'm not going to say that Virgos can't be materialistic, but it has a different quality to it. Again, it still is kind of, has more of a tendency toward a consideration for all or others as opposed to just itself. Because Virgo's always, in its highest state, it's always questioning ego. It really is. And they're very humble people. They're known to be pretty humble. And that's kind of why they get this thing of being weak, So let's see, what else do I want to talk about before I kind of put it all together? There are other signs that I was sort of looking at the relationship between, for instance, at the moment, and when I say at the moment, I would really say the last couple of years, I find that there's a sort of nemesis energy with Virgo and Aquarius, let's say the last year or two. And also kind of with Capricorn, Sag maybe a little bit, because Sag had a season there were a lot of Sages and Virgos that were connecting really closely over the last 10 years. And now it's kind of like Virgo and Leo that are doing a lot of partnering. And I would attribute that to just in part, like sharing the energy, the lessons of the other energy. Like with Leo, again, Virgos, I think, have been really good with translating to Leos and Sages, this whole, again, this issue of ego. And it's been a lot of mirroring too, but like really dealing with the energy of, you know, self-truth, like evaluating self as a truth and being able to go inside and really claim a power that is not just external, but an internal power, which Virgos see as a more authentic power, right? And then there's Scorpio, I think I mentioned. A similarity that Scorpio and Cap sort of have with Virgo is Scorpio more so like trying to really reach a truth, like get to a truth, right? You know, Scorpios have this thing where they can really go deep with getting to know themselves, and also with wanting to experience sort of a deeper intimacy with others. So with Scorpios, it's because Scorpios are such emotional creatures, you know, as a water sign. You know, and Virgos learn a lot from Scorpios with regard to that. But Scorpio's version of truth-seeking filters through their emotions, which is, you know, again, similar because while earth signs aren't known to be, you know, masters necessarily of their emotions, I mean, they're actually one of the, I would say air is the least emotional, but that's debatable as well. But Virgos and water signs are not, earth signs are not known to be particularly emotional, you know. But they are very sensitive in a psychic sense. Like, you know, they pick up on frequencies and vibrations that are deep in their core, you know. So, yeah, I think Scorpio and Virgo have a lot in common with regard to that particular aspect. But yeah, there's an emphasis on the internal versus the external, internal work. And like I said, even though Virgos can be, or come off as materialistic, and they are you know, in parts of their character. But as they go deeper into their truer selves, you find that they really, even as the hermit, they really have this internal, you know, aspect, which is how they get to these truths, right? Internal metaverse, as I talked about the other day, and I'm going to talk about in the future. So the inner work is how they get to that truth that they're seeking for, or they learn that that's what it is. They can do it externally too, which is the annoying part of them, where they're always, you know, analyzing and criticizing, and then, you know, and the criticism is meant to just understand. It really is. It gets turned into an ego thing maybe, but in its pure sense, it's really, you know, to try to understand things. And so I was mentioning how what the Virgos have in common with the fire signs is it's like their gift is to try to show the fire signs, and I know because I have a lot of fire in my chart, and I know the Virgo part in me juxtaposes that fire energy with really trying to understand like authentic power instead of like false external, you know, egoic power. That becomes a real lesson. Yeah. I must be tired without realizing it. So the shadow aspect of the self from a Virgo's perspective. Again, getting in touch with and identifying the polarities and then alchemizing in is a big part of the higher work of a Virgo with self. And sort of like Gemini, but for a different, like, I would say, you know, again, if Virgo is like the like older sibling between the two mercurial planets, Virgo has a more like mature octave. It's not just for individual like satisfaction or gain. It's more for understanding something that's going to help the whole, or the larger, you know, body of humanity, like help the template, right? Virgo also has these mother qualities, right? It's like a mother energy. It's really considered to be a very feminine sign, but I also noticed that it has a lot of masculine. And that comes to play with like the self-sufficiency. Like a lot of people diss on Virgos because, especially Virgo women, because they're very self-sufficient and they can take care of themselves, right? And they don't rely on people, you know, and that's a very masculine energy. But the feminine energy expresses a lot of vulnerability. You know, there's all this love and care, which again, people tend to abuse, just like Pisces. Virgo and Pisces get, you know, are in the past, or at a certain aspect can get really, I mean, because both of those templates have evolved a lot over the last like 10 years or so. So like Pisces can, you know, Pisces has learned not to be, you know, to overextend as much and to be, you know, walked over like it used to. And same with Virgo. Virgo's had to learn that recently, I would say. But, you know, there's a very self-sacrificial energy in both Virgo and Pisces. And again, people tend to not have a lot of respect for that. So it becomes an issue. So what does Virgo offer? Virgo offers an energy where you can master this continuing state of perfection. And a lot of people, I mean, like spiritually, you can see the Virgo energy as not so much about achieving this state of perfection. And, you know, I mean, that's not even what, you know, in a Virgo's highest aspect, it's all about, you know, perfection is a continuing process. You know, like for instance, you reach a certain plane or a certain level of perfection, and then you start all over again. It's like excellence. Like Virgo rules excellence in a way. And unlike the fire signs where excellence is seen as an external, again, prowess or a show of strength with Aries and Leo and Sag, with Virgo, it's more of an excellence of, you know, the self in its expression of balancing life. Again, alchemy, balancing polarities or duality. And it's a constant state. It's a constant state. It's not, you know, and I mean, it's not like you get there and then you're perfect forever. It's like once you reach a certain level of excellence or mastery, then you move to the next one. So it's the process of achieving, striving, that's what I'm looking for. The process of striving and achieving perfection, which is just a leveling out of accomplishment, right? And then the other aspect is, sorry, purification. Like that is a complete Virgo vibe. And that's why I said this whole heat wave that we're having here on the West Coast at the moment is so Virgo. Because it's all about, going in and purging and working on the self and, scrubbing even, the lower aspects, the shadow aspects, or facing them, not just scrubbing them, but facing them and again, alchemizing them. So in a spiritual sense, it's a good time for confessing, for confession and redemption before the season of judgment, which is Libra, the scales, because it gets harder later. Libras, I'm not saying that Libras aren't known for compassion or empathy, but the stronger trait of Libra is about, being impartial and taking in all sides and then evaluating that to come up with a determination of something, right? In judgment. It's about justice, right? But Virgo, it's about judgment, but it's also about judgment with empathy and compassion and redemption. So, and for the purpose of purification. So again, it's a good time, and this is of the self. It's not just other people judging other people. It's about the self. That's the external aspect of how it expresses, with regard to Virgo. But really, it's about the process of, doing it with the self. If everybody were able to judge, or judge is a kind of negative connotative word, but if everyone was able to analyze themselves and correct or balance themselves, then we wouldn't have a need for external judgments and, what am I trying to say? The regulatory. Yeah. So anyway, so during Virgo season, I would urge everybody to go through that process of self-analysis and purification and transformation and diligence with that, right? Before the next level of judgment with Libra season and balancing the scales with justice. There's a dystopic side to Virgo as well. Virgos seem to, because they're using both sides, they tend to, go deep. This is where they do well with Capricorn sometimes, because they really do find the poetry in shadow. Persephone comes to mind when I think about that side of Virgo, which is, to me, I think it is associated with Virgo. Persephone, the myth of Persephone, and is it Demeter and Hades? It is, because it has to do with the harvest season. But yeah, there's a real dystopic, sort of emo, dark quality. It reminds me of adolescent angst. And Virgos can get real funky sometimes, but they never stay there totally like a Capricorn. A Capricorn just goes, and Scorpios, it can go into the underworld, but a Capricorn will go down there and just, just live, just make a serious home out of that dark, deep, sunken space. But a Virgo will just sort of go to check it out and to use it as a way to understand, to be informed, and to balance, it alchemically. Oh, this is my favorite song, one of my favorite songs, Hajira. This is the album Hajira by Joni Mitchell. But, okay, I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, or I don't know if it came together the way I was seeking to put it together. But I really wanted to pay a little tribute to the energy of Virgo. And so I think I'm going to stop it here. We're at, gosh, my eyes are really out of it tonight. It is 46 minutes. Yeah, and these glasses are not helping. This must be one of my lower strength reading glasses. So the next video I'm going to try to do, if I can, is going to be dealing with, looking at this darker energy, the shadow energy, which again is kind of still a part of Virgo season, because it's just like looking at ourselves, aspects of ourselves that we commonly don't want to look at, we don't want to see, we don't want to analyze, but we have to in order to grow, in order to evolve. We can't do the whole fire sign thing and only see the best parts of ourselves so that we can feel good about ourselves all the time. We have to go into the parts of ourselves that are not pleasant to look at. And again, Virgo season, or Virgo as an energy, offers that in a way that, again, has compassion and empathy. People don't usually give Virgo the credit for compassion and empathy, because I have to say Virgo's not always careful about the way that they deliver. Their delivery sometimes can be, unthoughtful. But, so I'm going to try to go into the topic of looking at the shadow and how suffering comes out of that, or just explore suffering. Again, I don't have answers. This thing was something that I kind of woke up one morning a few days ago, kind of looking at, kind of cropped up. And then we have Mercury retrograde coming around. So that's, again, another part of the energy of dealing with taking a look at things that we've kind of skipped over. And so I'm going to try to use the Joni Mitchell song. I'll probably read the lyrics, play the song, and then have a brief discussion about some of that, okay? All right, so I don't know how clear this was, but if you stayed this long, thank you. And I will talk to you again soon. Have a great one. Peace.